Alright, much Abrew about nothing time. Playing some curious tutelage in standard. And I think this is a keep. Forest for our opponent and Vessel of Nascency. So one thing that's sweet about this deck is it does kind of punish the decks that are just dumping their entire library into their graveyard. Doesn't take that many tutelage triggers or copies of Startled Awake to beat a deck who's actively trying to mill themselves out. Yeah, let's just island and pass the turn. I think we're going to wait till after the tutelage for Tormenting Voice. Opponent mills 4, gets a Dragon Lord Atarka. Down to 48 cards in their library. Plays a Forest and another Vessel. Well, they're going to be in for a bit of a surprise. Ooh, and another Tormenting Voice. Well, there's a tutelage. We will help our opponent achieve Delirium. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks the Vessel. Gets a Dark Dwellers, I guess. Down to 43 cards. Ooh, so sweet. Well, they're going to have to kill us pretty quick here before we mill them out. Cinderglade. And passes. Mill a couple more. 2. So let's Tormenting Voice, pitch, Fiery Impulse. Mill our opponent down to 34. Highland Lake, pass the turn. Kind of punished for not playing that Highland Lake earlier. Although, I'm not sure it's going to matter in this matchup. We're about 2 turns away from winning, and I don't think our opponent can Emrakul us before then. And even if they can, I don't know how much it really matters. So they can Dark Dwellers for a Traverse. Alright, let's see what they tutor up. A Nissa. We get a Fiery Temper, mill our opponent down to 30. So let's lead on Tormenting Voice, pitch Fiery Temper. Not gonna Madness. Draw a couple cards, get a couple of tutelage triggers. And then take inventory, get a tutelage trigger. Highland Lake, and pass the turn. Well, this is our opponent's turn. They need to do something pretty big here. Because next turn we can take inventory into Bedlam Reveler. Or if our opponent mills themselves enough, we can just Startled Awake for the win. Another Dark Dweller. Sure. They're just going to Traverse again. They really can't mill themselves without just losing. They're going to grapple. Alright. Sure. But they're not going to cast it. They just want to get the Dark Dwellers out there. I guess they're just trying to kill us before we mill them out. Opponent passes. We get a Scour. Mill our opponent down to 21. So we have a couple of options. We have 5. Maybe we just tutelage Bedlam Reveler will get us 6 triggers. Could be enough to win the game. The other option would be take inventory for 2 triggers, draw a couple of cards, Bedlam Reveler for 2 mana for 3 triggers, and maybe something in between depending on take inventory. That might actually just get us more triggers. And we could draw into like another Reveler off the Reveler, or just another take inventory or something. Yeah, let's just do that. I think that's fine. So take inventory. Mill our opponent from 21 to 17 to 15. Play the land. Reveler. Reveler also gives us a blocker here. So gets us 3 more triggers. That was not a great Reveler. Down to 11. Down to something that I can't see. Down to 3. Alright, and we just passed the turn. So our opponent needs to Emrakul us here. Can they Emrakul? They need 6 mana. then they'd have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 card types. Is that even possible? They have enchant. Alright, apparently not. Our opponent scoops it up. So, got there against red-green Delirium. Kind of nice that our opponent was naturally milling themselves out. Do we want to change anything against this deck? That actually worked pretty well. And our opponent didn't see our Curious Homunculus, so they might not really be prepared for it. The one card would be Chandra. Is it fast enough, though? I'm not sure. Send to Sleep also seems pretty good to stop big threats for a turn. So we definitely want that. But what do we go down? I guess Kozilek's Return is a pretty easy cut, since they're playing all big stuff. And if they don't have removal, then Manic Scribe is actually pretty good. We didn't see that much removal. So we could bring in the Scribes. Maybe we bring in Scribes over Curious Homunculus? Go down Homunculus, Homunculus, Homunculus. Because I don't think we're going to really win with creature beats in this matchup. They have too many big things. And at least Scribes are going to do something while we're waiting. Go down all the Curious Homunculi and then bring in a negate and try it like that. Alright, no card draw, unfortunately, but we get to potentially kill some things, and we should draw into card draw eventually. Worst case, we can probably empty our hand in Reveler. Ooh, and a Startled Awake. Well, Mountain Go. 4 is for our opponent. And passes. Island. I guess we just Tormenting Voice. Discard Fiery Impulse. Whew, even more Startled Awakes. So we can mill 26 with the Startled Awakes. I wonder if our opponent took out their grapples and stuff and just figured that we would naturally turn on their Delirium. Probably would be a good choice. Well, let's Tormenting Voice, pitch Fiery Temper. No Madness. We do need another land. Alright, there's lands. Not an additional red mana, though. Let's play the island, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Tireless Tracker and the land to get the counter. We need to Send to Sleep. So we can Lightning Axe, discard Drownyard Temple, get back Drownyard Temple. And that gets rid of Tireless Tracker. Do we care about our opponent getting and sacking clues? I don't really know. We could also just play a land and just Startled Awake, but that gets our opponent much closer to Delirium. That might be fine, though. Yeah, let's just do that. We came here to mill, and mill we will. Startled Awake, mills 13. Probably just going to give our opponent Delirium all in one shot. Creatures, lands, sorceries, and instants. So, yep, our opponent officially has Delirium. They are also down to 36 cards, though, which is good. Cinderglade. So our opponent can flashback something with Dark Dwellers if they have one. And this is Pilgrimage. Ooh. They might also be just getting to Emrakul. Problem with Emrakul is we don't really have a good answer to it. We can't tap it down with Send to Sleep, so if they just get to Emrakul, things kind of get scary. And we haven't milled Emrakul yet. And even if we do, who knows how many they have. Alright, down to 16. We get a Manic Scribe. Unfortunately, we only have 2 card types. We have Sorcery and Instant. Well, let's play Drownyard Temple. And just Startled Awake again. Put our opponent down to 19 cards. Did not mill an Emrakul. And then I guess we just pass. I think we're kind of okay with our opponent getting clues, but we are going to kill the Tireless Tracker. Our opponent could Emrakul this turn, potentially. Gets in with Tireless Tracker. See if they start cracking clues. Alright, let's Lightning Axe. And I think we just gotta discard Bedlam Reveler. We don't even have the mana for it. Gets a creature in our graveyard. So tracker down. Our opponent is down to 17 cards. They have 8 in hand, though. We're mostly worried about Emrakul. The other stuff isn't too scary. They can't Emrakul this turn, but they might be able to next turn. We draw an island. So let's start with take inventory. We could just draw another Startled Awake. And then Manic Scribe. Mill our opponent some more. Play Highland Lake and pass the turn. Well, we are a Startled Awake away from winning. It seems unlikely that getting back Startled Awake would have worked there. Maybe. Maybe they just don't have any removal. No, they have Omnath. Whew, okay. Alright, gets a 5/5. Well, better than Emrakul. We're still drawing live to Startled Awake. Not exactly what we wanted, but... Well... let's get back Startled Awake. Play an island, pass the turn. So there is some weird world where we get in with this Startled Awake and it wins us the game. We do have a negate. We also have a Send to Sleep. I'm not counting on that happening, but it would be super hilarious if that actually worked. Opponent. Ishkana also kind of ruins this plan. Has a Goblin Dark Dwellers. Oh my god. Is this going to work? Oh, it might work. What are they going to flash back? They're going to flash back a Pulse of Murasa. What can they get back? What are they targeting? It's hard to see. Tireless Tracker? Alright, sure. We're going to skulk in for the win with Persistent Nightmare. They can't block it. Oh. Well, of all the ways I thought we might win a match, this was very near the bottom. But our opponent scoops it up because they can't stop the Persistent Nightmare. Oh, alright. Well, that went well. Apparently decks that are intentionally milling themselves are a good matchup.